And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, they have released new versions of Guildhall. Guildhall is a game that I've always enjoyed. It had a medieval setting, now they've changed it to a fantasy setting, and there are 3 different sets of this fantasy setting. The first of these 3 sets is Fellowship. And Fellowship comes with some new cards. If you've never heard of Guildhall before, that's fine. I'm going to explain it to you for the first time. Let's start. The object in Guildhall is to get 20 points, and there are cards that will give you points, and there are victory point tokens that will give you points. Now, there is a huge deck of cards that you're playing, and in this deck there are 6 professions. There is the Ranger, the Monk, the Sorcerer, the Fighter, the Bard, and the Druid. Each of these comes in 5 different colors. You can see red, blue, yellow, purple, and green, and there are 4 copies of each card, so you'll be shuffling these. Each player will start with 9 cards. You get to pick 3 of them that you play in front of you. The other 6 is your opening hand. 1 player starts. On a player's turn, they have 2 actions. One of their actions can be discard as many cards from your hand as you want and draw back up to 6 from the pile. All right, that's an easy way you can do that whenever you want as one of your 2 actions or as both of your actions if you like. Another action can be play a card in front of you. Now, when you play a card in front of you, you have the rule that you can play any card you want, except you can't play the exact same card. So I can't play 2 Red Rangers. If I already have a Red Ranger in front of me, I can't play another Red Ranger. And I also can't play 2 of the same type in a turn. So I can't play a Red Ranger, then a Blue Ranger on the same turn. However, I'm going to want to be collecting the Rangers, because if I get 5 Rangers, 1 of each of the color, or 5 of any of the different people in the game, then I'll take all those and turn them over. Now I can play Rangers again. And this becomes a completed chapter. When you put cards together like that, they're a chapter. A completed chapter for one of your actions. You can turn in 1 or more completed chapters for points. For example, I can turn in a completed chapter to the discard pile for 5 points. Or I can turn in 2 completed chapters for 9 points. Or I might turn in 2 completed chapters for 7 points, and then I get 2 more actions. 1 completed chapter for 3 points, and then I can switch one of the cards in my Guildhall, the cards in front of me, with 2 from an opponent's Guildhall, the cards in front of them. Or here, I can take 3 points, and then put as many cards from my hand directly into my Guildhall. So players have those 3 actions that they can take, but they get 2 per turn. Now, when you play cards in front of you, those cards are also going to give you a special ability. If there are no monks in front of me when I play that, that's a special ability I play. If there are already 2 monks in front of me, I play that one. And if there are 4 monks in front of me, I play that one, although you can always play a lower one. Let's take a look at the 6 different characters. The monk lets you put out more cards. If there's no monks, you get to put 1 card directly in your Guildhall. If you have 2 monks, you can put 2 cards from your hand into the Guildhall and then get rid of 1. Put back into your hand. And if you have 4 monks, you put as many cards from your hand into your Guildhall and then put 2 back in your hand. The fighter is going to go after your opponents. The fighter basically, and that's what the little black castle here, the fighter means you can kill a card in someone else's pile, or kill 2 cards, but they have to be from 2 different chapters, or kill 2 from the same chapter once you have 4 fighters out here. The sorcerer lets you take a card from your Guildhall, put it into your hand, and then take another action. You're like, why would I want to do that? Well, you might want to play that card again for the action that it gives you, and this gives you an extra action. But even cooler, when you have 3 sorcerers, you take a card from your opponent's Guildhall, put it in your hand, and then get the extra action. The Bard lets you take cards from the discard pile and put them into your guild, basically switching them. So here I can look through discard pile, take a card, put it in my guild, and then take a card from my guild and put it in discard pile, switch 2 for 2, or take any 3 and then I put a whole chapter in. Of course, I might put a whole chapter of 1 person. The Druid gives you extra cards. Simply draw 3 cards. Or once you have 3 Druids on the board, you draw 5 cards, and then you take a card from your hand and put it directly into your Guildhall. Very powerful Druid. And then the Ranger is going to give you victory points. So you, the first Ranger does nothing, but the second Ranger, you already have 1 out. So you'll get 1 victory point. The third Ranger, you get 2 victory points. It's just that every time you use the Ranger, though, you have to give your opponent, one of your opponents, a card from your Guildhall. That's still not bad if you have 4 Rangers on the board. I'll take 4 points to give my opponent a card. So anyhow, that's how you play. You're going to be placing these cards in front of you and doing it, and you'll be getting points from these cards and from tokens. First person to 20 is the winner. So Guildhall Fantasy Fellowship. Now, if you already have the other Guildhalls or you want to know how to mix Guildhalls together, I'm going to be explaining that in a separate video. This game actually comes with dividers to keep all the characters in this straight. Each of these dividers explains exactly how to play that character. Speaking of the characters, what do I think of these characters? Well, I really like the Ranger. I like any of the cards that gives you victory points, and I like how the Ranger, you can get a lot of victory points from the Ranger, but you have to keep giving cards to your opponent. The Bard, taking cards from the discard pile, but having to put cards back in this card pile, I like that. It's a net sum of 0 until you have a lot of the Bards. Very useful. The Fighter, going after your opponent, just killing a few of their cards. It's mean, but it's also very direct, and it's not over-the-top mean. I'm just going to kill one of your characters. The Druid, getting more cards, always an easy, good thing to have. The Sorcerer, where you can put a card into your hand and then take another action. Everyone likes cards that give you extra actions. And then the Monk, where you switch cards from your Guildhall with cards from your hand, allow you to do things and build chapters faster. Since you can only play one card in a chapter per turn, but you can use actions to get more, it's a fast way to do it. Actually, of all the sets, I think this one, if you're looking, I want to buy one of these sets for the first time, this would be the set to get, I think, because the stuff in this set is the simplest and easiest to deal with. Now, I have learned as I played Guildhall that I really am not as big of a fan of it with 4 players. It's fine with 4 players, but it's very good with 3 players, and it's great with 2. And most of that's because there are mean cards in the game. And if you're playing with 4 players, you're like, oh, I almost have this chapter completed. I have 4 guys, the 5th one next time. Well, 3 other players get to go first, and they're going to just, one of them is probably going to beat you down, and the game takes much longer. With 2 players, you're beating each other down, but it doesn't feel as mean because, of course, you're expected to hit the person across from you, and you can only play 2 cards per turn, and so maybe both of them are mean, but when you're playing 3 other players, it can happen more often. But I still really enjoy this game. The idea of putting the cards down and saying, okay, I'm gonna play these cards, I'm gonna finish these up, I got a chapter done. Now, do I turn it in for points, or do I wait till I have 2 chapters and turn those in for more points? Or do I want the 5-point card, or do I want the 3-point card, but one that lets me draw 5 cards in my hand, and then I have a full hand again, and I can play more cards next time? You know, deciding when to discard cards. You know, you're like, oh, I'm looking for that last Ranger. Where is it? I'm going to find it. Guildhall is just a cool idea for a game, and really, it's unlike any other card game out there. And this is an excellent set for it. So if you've never tried it before, this is the best way to get into the system. If you have played Guildhall before, then you're going to probably want to check this one out. Maybe you like the fantasy theme. It's better than medieval, right? That's Guildhall Fellowship. Dice Tower Judgment. Excellent!
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.